Welcome to Outliers Get to Know. I'm your host, Tracey Devlyn, and I'm here with New York Times bestselling author Tod Goldberg to talk about his new thriller, Only Way Out. Welcome to the show, Todd.
Hey, nice to see you. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Absolutely my pleasure. This is such a great book. But before we jump into Only Way Out, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your writing journey, just whatever you'd like to share?
Oh gosh, this is really. I feel like
I
this is
know.
the work
Big
of the
career down to like
historians.
30 seconds here,
Yeah,
right?
I want to save something for the biographies that come out after I die.
There you go. Okay, all right, hold
But
back.
other than that, I come from a writing family. My brother Lee, of course, is a crime writer also, so we bury bodies together. And my sisters write books together, though not crime novels. My mom was a journalist. My dad was a journalist. So I've been writing
It's
books before I
amazing.
could even write. I was writing books with my Star Wars action figures, some of which you can still see on the shelves.
Uh,
You know, from childhood. Like I think I've always been writing. Um, and I've always been drawn to crime fiction, though when I was a younger, more impressionable person, I was afraid that being a genre writer, there was some kind of problem with that. And I remember very vividly, I had already published, gosh, I don't know, three books at this point, and my brother came to me and was like, "Why don't you write a book where people, after they get done reading it, don't want to kill themselves?"
Leave it to family to always kind of just jump right to
Yeah,
the heart
I
of things,
mean,
right?
there's a great thing that Daniel Woodrell said once, where he said, people said things to me in workshops that if they said them to me in bars, they'd walk out without their teeth. And I think it's the same for family. It's like they can be so brutally honest, and your only recourse is to sort of nod,
Thank you.
smile.
May I have another?
Yes, oh, thank you. I'm the youngest. Please do hurt
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
But the lovely thing is for the last, gosh, 25 years now, I've been able to do exactly what I love, which is write books. Um, and in addition to that, I am also a professor. So I founded and still direct the MFA program in creative writing at UC Riverside.
Nice.
For many, many years, I hosted an inordinately popular podcast that I sometimes miss, called Literary Disco, but not today.
Nice. Very
But
cool.
I think the writer's journey always comes from a similar place, is that, we were all those kids that would rather read Dune instead of playing kickball. And then when puberty hit, we had to put Dune away and figure out how to fit in. So I was that kid. I always wanted to write. But I think that the key for me is I was always watching. I was always looking at other people and imagining their lives and walking around the neighborhood and seeing the lights on in people's houses and wondering what was going on in there and whether or not I could sneak in, which might qualify as a thought crime.
Nice. Nice. Well, only way out. For me, it feels like it's just full of morally gray characters.
Yes, I
And
think that is accurate.
is that okay? All right. I was a little
Yes.
concerned about that
No, no,
description, but
no.
that's really what it felt like for me, which was amazing. I mean, and we'll get into some of the characters a little bit later, but what I try to avoid spoilers, so I always leave this up to the author. But what else can you tell us about Only Way Out?
Well, the main plot point of it actually came to me in actually in a family way, but not in the term a family way means, which is the main plot point concerns a failed lawyer who decides to heist 324 safe deposit boxes at his law firm and start a new life. Only to have, and this is no spoiler, it happens in the first 10 pages, only to crash his van filled with the loot in front of a crooked cop who takes the loot and then does a lot of other bad things. But the way this story came to me was in a very unusual way, which is that the nice folks at Thomas and Mercer at Amazon had asked me to contribute a short story to one of their upcoming anthologies, and I didn't really have any ideas, which is not unusual. Ideas for me, there's not a muse that ever shows up. It's typically like I stumble onto some image or some lightning bolt hits me or the shower is particularly warm that day and all of a sudden, something arrives.
Bingo.
In this case, I was staying at my sister's house. We had gone to see a Jason Isbell concert together. And in the morning, I woke up and her son um, was home from law school and he was telling me a story about a law firm he had visited, and it was not a terribly exciting story. And so I said, anything weird about this law firm? And he said, no. Well, there was the entire floor of safe deposit boxes. And I said, I'm sorry, what? And he said, yeah, it's just this entire floor of safe deposit boxes. And the weird thing is they're all covered by attorney-client privilege. So, there's a lot of interesting stuff in those, I guess. And the feds can't get him, and he's going on explaining the crime fraud veil and all this stuff. And he's telling me this, and I'm like, "You're going to make me $1 million, and you don't even know it."
Ding, ding, ding.
And I said to him, who's in charge of these safe deposit boxes? And he said, "Oh, I met him. His name's Jeff." And I said, "Jeff." Jeff, Jeff is in charge of these safe deposit boxes. He's like, yeah, he's the guy who has to, log everything and, keep the files and all that. Cool guy. And I was like, there's my criminal brain immediately, Tracy, as you know,
Yeah,
turned right
yeah,
on.
yeah.
And, within 25 minutes or so, I had this idea for a morally compromised failed lawyer who steals all the boxes. And I pitched that to Amazon, and they said, "Oh, we love it. We'd like you to write that as a novel instead." And
Oh, nice.
yeah, so that was a
Yeah.
champagne problem that showed up because then I had to write it.
Yeah, and figure out
So
all the middle bits, right?
figure out all the middle bits exactly. I mean, the ideas are nice. It's
Uh,
the ability to fill out the middle bits that I think that's
yeah.
what turns us into writers. But I had a lot of fun with it because I think for me, I think I've always written a lot over the course of the 16 books I've written. I write a lot about identity and a lot about sort of buried secrets of people and who they are versus who they pretend to be and all that sort of criminal stuff. And what better device than
Yeah.
what people keep hidden that is protected by their lawyers
Yeah,
to
yeah.
examine who people really are. So that was one part of it. And the other part of it is I wanted to set the story in a dying resort town. I live in Palm Springs, which is not a dying resort town, but could be. And as a kid, I spent a lot of time in sort of any place that had diagonal parking and saltwater taffy and art on driftwood. My mom dated a series of men who always had vacation homes in sort of cut rate resorts. So, not Santa Cruz, but Pismo, things like
Yeah.
that. And so I've always been interested in the kind of insidious nature of dying resort towns after dark. And so I wanted to make this failed lawyer sort of a hometown hero of a dying resort town and and turn his crime and then his disappearance into the sort of thing that would take a dying resort town and turn it into the kind of place where a crime is celebrated and where tourists would come to visit to see the place where essentially D.B. Cooper got away with it, which allowed me also to explore things I'm interested in, like the vast true crime industrial complex and my great love of cotton candy.
Yeah.
So
Cotton
all
candy.
of those things got to get put together into one nice 345 page packet.
Oh, it's great. It's like I never considered that diagonal parking was like, a thing, that's specific to a particular kind of town or anything like that. I live in Western North Carolina, and there's a
Hmm.
lot of diagonal parking in, some of these these small towns around here. And so yeah, I just never thought about it. I'm like, oh, okay. It's all
Well,
perspective, isn't it? It's so
right.
funny. It's so
Well, it's because
people
it's
come to
charming,
yeah,
Diagonal
yeah,
parking's
yeah, exactly.
charming. And it also sort of presupposes there won't be a lot of need for parking because it's like, well, if you do it diagonal, it's not as easy as if it's just a straight line.
No, that's great. It's funny you were mentioning about this cop and his name is Jack, and some of his interior thoughts actually had me chuckling out loud. And I don't know if you had just the best time writing this. Actually, I think you probably had a good time writing several of these characters uh, from the way that it all played out. But Jack seemed particularly like he had some very interesting thoughts that you got to play with.
Yeah, so the main character, or not the main character, the main antagonist, I guess, his name is Jack Biddle, and he's named for a family who owned a resort in a dying resort town in Washington State, where my family used to fish every year at a place called Granite Point Park, which is at a lake called Loon Lake, just outside of Spokane, Washington. And the Biddle family owned this resort for all the time that I was there. And for some reason, for both myself and my brother, um, a lot of our writing ends up at some point or another intersecting with this place we used to go to every summer. Um, and the name Jack Biddle is just, it's the perfect name for a small town cop who has grander visions of himself. But I really wanted to write about just someone who is vainglorious, who has no sense of how other people see him. He thinks that they're going to name streets after him and they're going to change the name of a mountain after him. And if he solves this crime, well, maybe that will lead to Congress or the presidency, or he's just one of those guys who doesn't cycle into depression. He cycles into vanity and who believes he's competent. And what I love to write about, and which I've done a lot, I think, previously in my books about the Gangsterland series, which was about a hitman who hides out as a rabbi in Las Vegas, um, is I think I like to write about people who believe they're competent, who come up against people who actually are competent, and what that intersection is like. So
Yeah.
Jack Biddle, sees this van go off the side of the road. He steals all the loot. He essentially takes on the the life of this failed lawyer. Robert Greene pretends to be him for 15 years.
Persona, yeah.
And I love this idea that he thinks he's both Superman and Lex Luthor at the same time. And what kind of man does that? Every time I got to write him was extraordinarily entertaining for me
Okay,
because
good.
it's, it's like
So I
it's
thought
like
so.
exploring your own super ego at any given
Hmm.
time.
Yeah, no, he was great. They all were. They were all of your characters were just very individual. But they but they all had this more in my opinion more interesting side. That like you had
Mhm.
this public facing side, and then you had this interior side of all of their thoughts and things, and it just cracked me up several times. So
Oh, I appreciate that. That
no, it
makes me
was
happy.
it was lovely. Yeah. So I did get an opportunity to watch your unboxing video, and I saw. So this is what the cover. This is the advanced reader copy, and the jacket is very similar to this too, I believe. But inside was this really.
I
Your
know.
publisher sent me the hard copy, which I am so appreciative of.
It's
But it's
beautiful.
it's like safety deposit boxes
Yes.
on there. Isn't it
Yeah.
amazing? Were
When
you
they
just
sent
so
me that
excited
design
when you
ahead of
saw this?
time, I was like, that's it. I
Yeah.
retire. I don't need to do anything else in my life.
Yeah.
It's
That's
so
just it's
cool.
those little details like that that I think that the publishers can do that just make the author and the readers just so happy. It's like this little
So happy.
gem.
Yes.
Yeah.
The last book that I did an anthology that came out last October called Eight Very Bad Nights, which is an anthology of Hanukkah noir. Which is a genre that I believe I have created. And I did it for Soho Press, who've published a couple of my books in the past. And they put a dreidel in the bottom page of every single, or on the bottom of every single page. And if you flip through the pages, it's a flip book, and the dreidel spins
Oh,
through
neat.
all 300 pages. It is so cool. I love
Very
that. So
cool.
having stuff like that,
Yeah.
or like the cover for this book that Thomas and Mercer did, it really makes it feel like you're buying something that isn't disposable. You know, that you're buying an
Right.
actual piece of art,
Yeah.
which I think makes the difference sometimes when you're cleaning off your shelves at the end of the year and you're like, this is like a 3-star book, but sure is pretty.
Yeah, yeah. And
Maybe
it's
I'll
so
keep it.
interesting because, if you're not one who takes, the jacket off, you might not
Hmm.
ever know this little gem is in here. And
A
it's hard,
secret.
it might be hard. I don't know if it's coming across on the camera or not, but it's just and I think I really hope at some point that publishers start for the thrillers and this
Hmm.
mystery and suspense that they start spraying the edges, kind of like
Oh,
they're
that'd be
doing for
cool.
romance and
Yeah,
romanticy more. So hopefully at one point you'll get the whole deal with the
that
book, but
would be
that's
lovely.
just gorgeous. All right, well, let's transition away from the book a little bit and get to know you a bit more.
Sure.
And I'm very curious, is there a story that you would just love to write, but you haven't taken the plunge yet for whatever reason?
You know, there is, and I'm supposed to be writing it right now. And I will. I promise for my publisher, I'm totally going to do it. Um, but I've been trying to write this since the 1990s, and I didn't feel ready for many, many years. And then I wrote some short stories about this character, and I realized I was ready, and so I'm going to do it. And that is to write about organized crime at the Salton Sea in the 1960s.
Oh, nice.
So in my book, The Low Desert, which is a collection of short stories, the title story is called The Low Desert, and it is essentially the origin story for the novel that I want to write. But the challenge always for me was the sweep of it because I knew that I wanted to write about it in
Mm.
the 1960s. I wanted to write about it in the 1970s, and I wanted to write about it now when the Salton Sea is has a whole other form of organized crime surrounding it. And so it was a lot of years of thinking about it, and then writing that short story sort of solidified it. Um, and I was supposed to be writing that book right now. The problem was an opportunity to do something else showed up,
Squirrel.
which I can't yet talk about, but I've been working on a TV project for a year. And so I had to put that book away, and now I am chomping at the bit to get to it because I'm so ready to write it. And you know, I think the Salton Sea as a place to, and perhaps even to yourself, if you're not from the West, like you don't know this
Mm.
bizarre story of this inland sea that is, you know, that was an
Mm.
accident. An accident. It was an intentional accident that happened in the 1900s, but was also part of this giant inland sea that existed between California and the Gulf
Oh.
of Mexico for thousands of years. Um, but it's such a haunted, weird, dead place. And as a desert person, it has always held a mystique to me. And I feel
Yeah.
like I have to do it well and do it right. And so taking the time has not been a problem because I know that when I actually write it, it's going to be the thing that I wanted.
So do you think that, and I hope you do, I hope you're
Oh, I
able to
have
get
to.
to it
They've
here for,
given me the money,
yeah.
Tracy.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah.
right. Contract.
Yeah,
Got
they've given me the
it. Got
money.
it.
So
Um, do you think
I
that
got to
it
do
will
it.
all be one book, or do you think you'll break it down into like a three-part series where you go 60s, 70s, 80s type of thing?
Yeah, I think it'll be 3 books.
Okay.
And they might not come out right in a row. They might come out one book and then I do another book of something else
Yeah.
and then another book and another book. Because what I found writing the Gangsterland books over the course of, I wrote them over the course of 15 years and they came out over the course of 12 years or whatever it was, is I didn't resent writing them, but I had so many other ideas
Hmm.
that I couldn't or didn't have time to go to because these books that I wrote, these gangster books, were all 450 pages long and, required
Yeah.
research and, religious dedication, but literally and
Yeah.
figuratively.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm now 54 years old, and I don't know that I have 15 years to dedicate to one character again.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that I do all the things I want to do. So, um, we'll see is always the
Hmm.
best answer, but I know for sure that I'm writing at least the 1960s right now.
Yeah. Or yeah, I've seen it both ways, right? There's a one meaty book that covers, a whole family saga, and then books that are, staggered with a release. So however you do it, I'm sure it's going to be absolutely amazing. So that's great.
I hope so. Oh, my dogs are barking. The UPS
Oh,
man is here.
oh, my dog does that too. I cannot hear them. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, and I think this is the challenge that we have as writers, as we extend our lives in this career, is the choices we make now have to also be about the legacy of the things we wanted to do in this life. And I
hmm.
didn't think about that when I was, when I published my first book, I
Right.
was 29 years old, and I
Yeah.
wasn't thinking
Easy.
about any of this stuff.
Yeah.
But I am now. And so that, understanding that I think colors the way I approach getting up every morning and doing the work.
No, that's great. That's great. So besides reading, what is your favorite thing that you like to do when you're not writing?
I like to eat chocolate covered almonds.
Okay, I like that.
um, I like to travel, of course. I like to watch a lot of sports. I like to spend time with my beautiful wife and my
Yeah.
barking dogs. Um, I'm a great eavesdropper. So I can be perfectly content, Tracy, going to Target and not buying anything and just walking around listening to people.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
those are all easy things. But I love art, so I'm always consuming. So when and you accurately pointed out, I mean, this is probably true for most of the people that you talk to. When I'm not writing, I really love to read.
Yeah.
When I'm not writing, I really love to watch movies and watch TV. Um, I think it's good to know your obsessions early on. That way you can sort of figure out how you want to live your life.
Just own
Um,
it.
yeah, I love music, so I see a lot of concerts. So I think I have surrounded myself with um, the joys that make me feel good about myself
Yeah.
and about the world and all those things. I like to eat
Yeah.
and to breathe. So if we could clean up the air and have less microplastics in the food,
That
that'd be
would be
great.
great, wouldn't it?
Um, but for me, simply just being is pretty good. Like I don't get bored. I'm never
Yeah.
bored.
Okay, that's
I was
good.
having this conversation not long ago with my wife about how like when we were kids, you'd be bored. Like when was the last time you were, other than someone's PowerPoint presentation or work situation, like when was the last time you were at home and you're like, oh God, I'm really bored? We just don't have that opportunity anymore to just be like, I hate everything. Nothing makes me happy. It's like, you know what? In California, gummies made with THC are legal, so you never have to be bored anymore.
Perfect. What a great way to end it. I love it. All right. Well, before we go, why don't you tell, well, you know what? I guess you probably did, didn't you? So, I was going to ask you what's up next for you, but sounds like you're working on a television thing and then you're
Hmm.
going to jump into the 1960s book. So, does that
Yes,
sum it up pretty well?
yeah, I'm working on a TV thing right now that if I tell you about, a host of lawyers will show up and they'll
Yeah, I
take
get
all my money.
it. I get it.
Um, and the other thing I'm working on right now too, which is nice, is I love to write short stories, and I don't often have an opportunity to do a lot of that because I'm working on a novel. And I love to write essays, and I don't often have an opportunity to do that because I'm working on a novel. So right now, when I've been working on some screenplay stuff, it does allow me more time to actually do some other sort of narrative writing that I want to do. So in the next few months, you'll see some stories and some essays and that sort of thing popping up. I might become one of those people that gets really into like some sort of arcane physical activity. I've always wanted to be someone that like throws kettlebells and stuff. Or like gets really
Sounds like too much
interested
work to
in
me.
yeah, like it gets really interested in like I don't know, home repair and starts their own video channel. The problem is I just don't have that much volition.
Nice.
So most of the time I just end up like, I guess I'll play Wordle again
There you
instead
go.
of doing that. If I Trace, if I could become famous for just doing Wordle, I swear to God, I'd give up the writing game forever and just every morning figure out that word.
I have not played Wordle yet, so I haven't figured out the craze. I know there's a craze out there, but I'm almost afraid to try it because I'll get like addicted to it, like
Oh,
everybody. Yeah.
I mean, it's been a years long thing. But here's my core belief is I crosswords make no sense to me because I don't understand the rhythms of the speech of the crossword, like and like the puns and stuff. But Wordle, it spurs in me my competitive desire to best somebody, my wife, my siblings, whomever, plus the faceless masses that play on the New York Times and they tell you, oh, 1.8 million people didn't face the thing you faced. So it plays with my dopamine receptor of competition. Then it allows me to feel really smart by pulling out arcane words and dropping them in and being like, "There's no way the robot that makes this knows that word." And then the satisfying feeling of just skimming by at the end and being like, "Wow, I am a professional writer." So this was
It's
probably
so self-validating,
yeah.
right?
It's
It's awesome.
like they thought they could get me. They don't know me.
Bam. All
So
right.
Tracy, I encourage you to start
Yeah.
playing so that on a day-to-day basis you can
I'm
feel pretty
I'm
good about yourself.
afraid. I know I'm afraid. All right, folks. Well, when this episode airs, Only Way Out will be available for purchase. So please order your copy today. You can check out Todd's website at todgoldberg.com. Nice and easy. Todd, what social media platform are you most active on?
I am most active on fantasy football chat boards.
Where might your readers find you, Todd?
Oh, right. I am a Threads and Instagram devotee.
Okay. All right, great. Is your handle just Todd Goldberg, or do
Yes.
you have anything?
Yeah.
Okay. All
No, no,
right.
my vanity has never allowed me to ever use anything but my own full name and
All
social
right.
security number at all times.
Not just the last four digits, you got
No, 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 I
the
give them
whole
everything.
social in there, huh?
Tracy, I got news for you. If someone wants it, they can find it.
Yeah, I imagine you are correct there. I don't think anything's safe anymore for
Nothing.
is
Look,
it?
as crime writers, we should be the people that tell people like nothing that you think is safe is safe. We're all doomed. Good luck. Good luck in the camps. We're all doomed.
Well, on that happy note,
Please, aliens, come get us.
yes, exactly. Well, thanks again, Todd, for joining me today. This was a lot of fun, as I was told it would be. It was an absolute pleasure to talk to you, and
Me
really
too.
appreciate you coming on and chatting with us about this wonderful book.
Of course. Thanks.
Absolutely. Many thanks to everyone listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I'll be back soon with another thrilling read.